excited to just have some nice conversations, get to know one another a little bit more, and just hear about what our past few years have looked like, right?
Cafe, early evening. Formerly a popular neighborhood hub, Cafe has been closed for more than 13 months due to COVID-19 closures. A flat-screen television mounted on the wall behind the counter reveals a Zoom teleconference screen. Enter person one. Person one walks around the cafe, stops near the restroom, opens the restroom door tentatively, turns on the light and enters the restroom. Sound of click as person one locks the restroom door. Enter person two. Person two walks around the space, checking for ventilation sources as they pray.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want.
Sound of the exterior door opening. Enter person three.
Hi.
Hey there. I'm person two.
Person three.
Seating's assigned.
Yep, this is me.
Bathroom door opens. Enter person one.
Hey there. I'm person two. You must be person one.
Yes, three.
Hi, how you doing? It's nice to meet you guys and be here.
So
in
why
person.
isn't therapist? So why isn't therapist coming in? It's time to start.
Oh, that's not therapist.
Wait, how could you tell? I mean, the person at the door is pretty covered up, kind of incognito. I couldn't even see their eyes through their sunglasses.
Oh, I talked to them. Therapist is joining us on the flat screen. And I didn't know smart TVs had webcams.
Oh, some do, yeah.
We had the option to join remotely?
No, remote was definitely not an option.
Right, that's what I thought.
Could you believe it when they notified you that we had to switch to in-person for this?
Yeah, it was surprising.
Person one checks the time on their cell phone, walks over to the center table, pulls out Clorox wipes and wipes down their chair and table, then sits.
I used to come here for coffee.
Me too.
I bet we crossed paths in here for years and never noticed each other.
Yeah, I think we all did that a lot back then, right?
Person three pulls out a bottle of hand sanitizer and a tissue, squirts the sanitizer on their table and chair, and wipes them down. Person three places their tripod on the table and sets up their cell phone for the Zoom call. Person two spritz their table and chair with the contents from a spray bottle, wipes the surfaces down, sits, pulls out their laptop.
What's that smell?
Lavender and sage.
They all click through to a Zoom page. Each person's Zoom screen appears on the flat screen. Recording in progress. Therapist appears on the television screen.
Welcome.
Is everyone here vaccinated?
Yes.
Did everyone pass the COVID test?
Yes.
Okay, see, we were assured that we would be safe if we came here, that everyone here would be COVID free, but this one is sneezing and picking their nose.
Okay. Sorry. I was wondering if you were both staring at me because I sneezed. I'm allergic to lavender.
I am sorry.
It's okay. I thought hide personal view meant that I wasn't on screen. I was putting Vicks in my nostrils. It helps me not to react to airborne allergens. I don't know why I can't remember to hit the camera thing at the bottom to stop my camera. Hashtag embarrassed.
I've had a few of those embarrassing moments as well. Once I took my phone to the bathroom to check my Instagram page, and I didn't realize I activated the camera and I was on the toilet on Instagram Live.
While person 3 is definitely healthy, I have the virus, which is why I'm joining you on Zoom.
Would you like to reschedule the session?
No. Oh, when I signed up for this study, they said meetings were only going to be via Zoom, but here I am, session 6 of 10. They said if I didn't attend this session, that I'll get kicked out of the study and not get paid. Like, it took a lot for me to be here. I mean, it's been a while since I am here now, and I refuse to agree to an additional session.
Okay, person 1, I hear your concern. We are not going to cancel or reschedule this session.
Thank you.
Let's try this again. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I would like to try something new today. If someone shares a word or a phrase that you connect with, feel free to repeat it.
Kind of like a call and response.
Something like that. I emailed you some questions to consider for today's session.
Email? I didn't get an email.
Oh, try your spam folder. That's where I found mine.
You found it?
Yes.
Well, since you didn't receive the instruction prior to our session, feel free to share it whenever or if you feel ready. No pressure.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Wait. I have to make up a name for myself? I thought we were just going to go with numbers and they, them pronouns.
Well, feel free to share your pseudonym when you are ready, person 1. Would you like to share your pseudonym, person 3?
Oh, Noodle.
Hello, Noodle. Person 2.
Blessed.
Hello, Blessed. And you can all call me Kitty. So, tell me the first word that comes to mind when you think of being here.
Suffocating.
Scary.
Scary. Different.
Different.
How does it feel to have your feeling repeated, Blessed and Noodle?
Like I'm not alone.
Same here.
Tell me more about suffocating.
You can call me 1.
Tell me more about suffocating, 1.
This mask is suffocating for me.
Person 1 pulls a sleep-proof face shield out of their bag, slips it on. Person 2 and person 3 follow person 1, put on their face shields, and slip off their masks.
Wearing a face shield is an alternative, and you can step outside for air anytime you feel you need to.
I doubt I'll be coming back in if I step outside.
I understand. Would you like to share what scary means to you, Blessed? Well, what about you, Noodle? What does different mean?
Just different. That's all. I mean, this conversation is different from the ones I've had in the past in other Zoom group sessions. But those people were more relaxed. This is so tense. It's not the same.
Well, I hear you, Noodle. Okay, so let's talk about one of the experiences that brought you joy during the pandemic. Blessed?
God brought me joy.
How?
Well, I used to hang out at the Signature Theater on 42nd Street to meet people in the industry. I mean, actors, directors, and stuff. I was invited to every opening, every party, and I thought I had a lot of friends. When the pandemic hit, I couldn't leave I couldn't leave, and I couldn't bring myself to leave my apartment. See, I live alone, and from March 2020 until I got my vaccine a few weeks ago, I avoided all in-person human contact, and I mean all. And rather than going to the laundromat, I washed my clothes by hand, and I even ordered groceries online, and I had them delivered. I tried to stay in touch with all of my friends. I would DM them and invite them to call me or Zoom with me, but no one ever followed through.
Do you have family members in the area?
No. And I couldn't go home to my parents in Miami. So it was just me in my studio apartment, looking down at the vacant streets, banging my pots with the folks in the neighborhood to thank the frontline workers. And one day I just couldn't get out of bed. I was beyond scared of dying. I lost hope. I stayed in bed for almost 2 weeks, binge eating. Ugh. As I scrolled through YouTube videos. Then I bumped into this church service, and the singing and the music were soothing. And during the sermon, I pulled out my Bible to read the pastor, the preacher was sharing. And after that, I read the Bible every day and prayed. And then I subscribed to this meditation channel, and I started meditating. I prayed for myself at first. And then I started praying for my family and for the world. And the more I prayed for others, the more joy I felt. And the more joy I felt, the better I felt about myself. And my hopes for the future grew. Then I joined this Zoom community prayer group. And the moment I started giving my time and attention to my prayer community, I started making new friends, and I was aching to meet them, face to face. So I got my vaccine as soon as they made it available to everyone last month. And this past Wednesday, I took an Uber over to the Signature. I hadn't been out of Queens since, last March 2020. And the city was so different. I couldn't believe it. On a Wednesday afternoon, Midtown Manhattan was deserted, except for the homeless people. And I felt like I was on set, of like an old Western. And I was standing across the street from the Signature. It just looked so sad. I bumped into somebody I used to hang out with, and we talked for a while, standing 6 feet apart, of course. And before we went our separate ways, she gave me her cell phone number, and she'd never given me her number before. I asked her why. You never shared your contact with me before. And she said, I had changed. That I never asked her about her life before, that all my conversations used to be about the business and my career goals. And I realized how self-serving I had been. God brought me clarity and joy. And now that we're getting back to normal, I don't know what the future holds for my acting career. But I am trying really hard to stay on the giving path.
Thank you, Blessed. Noodle, what brought you joy?
Cooking. I know it doesn't sound like much, but before the lockdown, I don't think I ever used my kitchen. I mean, don't get me wrong, eating is my most single favorite thing to do on this planet, but I was never one of those cooking show watching types of people, either the person I was dating at a particular time would cook, or I would just order in or go out to eat or something. So yeah, I was dating someone in March of 2020. They were so hot. God, they were really hot. Yeah, we met in February at a Valentine's Day party, and we hit it off really well, if you catch my drift. So yeah, we would eat out every time we hooked up. So when the governor recommended that we shelter in place, we decided we'd try out living together. I stayed over at Bay's place for a few weeks, and at first it was really great. Like, it was really great until one day Bay decided they were going to make chicken. Now, I had no idea someone so fine could cook so well. We'd been eating leftover takeout and omelets for days. So I'm telling you, it tasted just like my mom's cooking. Okay, which, believe me when I say, that is a huge compliment. That is saying something. My mom is a fantastic cook. And so, I don't know if it was like lockdown brain thinking, but I was just sitting there looking at this hot, sexy chef could be, and seeing us at the altar, wedding bells ringing, everything, the works. Then I asked Bay, I said, "Oh, how'd you make this chicken?" I wasn't fishing, I wasn't thinking, "Oh, I really need to know their recipe," or anything like that. The question just popped out of me. And then they said, they told me about all the spices they used and how they put it in a cast iron pot and, put it in the oven, and that was it. Now, mind you, I had just eaten my last bite of this chicken when I joked, "Oh, so yeah, you just took it out of the wrapping, spiced it a little bit and cooked it." And they was like, "Yes." So you mean you didn't watch this chicken? Wash the chicken? Who washes chicken? Excuse me. I thought you fed me germ-infested, crusty chicken. I could feel like my food was coming back up in my throat. My mother always soaks her chicken in salt and vinegar, then rinses it a bunch of times before she cooks it. Well, I've never heard anything like that. I mean, if I was making iguana, I might wash it. Wait a minute, excuse me. What? Iguana? You cook iguana. We do in Trinidad. We're not in Trinidad. Okay, after you kill iguana, you have to clean it really well. I don't know if it was the thought of this person feeding me a dirty piece of store-bought chicken, or an iguana being cooked in the same pot as that bird that made me take a closer look at this person. It's so unfortunate. Gorgeous, gorgeous face. Just fine, hot body, dreadlocks, the nose ring, and these hands. And all of a sudden, I started wondering, when was the last time I had smelled freshly washed dreadlocks? And then I was thinking, do you even wash your hands after you use the bathroom? I started hyperventilating as thoughts of COVID-19 lurking in that filthy pile of hair came rushing into my head. Visions of those long fingers killing and cooking a wild jungle iguana, touching me, my body, okay, unwashed, right? Iguana blood molecules under their cuticles, infecting me. My heart was pounding like crazy as I just imagined this person morphing into a diseased little zombie. I grabbed my laptop. I ran the hell out of there. I got home, locked my door, and for days, I couldn't eat a thing. 4 or 5 times a day, I would shower and scrub myself with baking soda and alcohol. I know, it was crazy, right? I couldn't imagine going back to eating anything prepared by anyone else without wondering, is this clean? So, when I finally got my appetite back, I went to the grocery store, bought a couple things, bought some pasta, tomato sauce, some cheeses. It took me a few tries to figure out how long, to cook the noodles so they wouldn't be crunchy. But then I started watching Rachel Ray and those Iron Chef cooking shows and stuff. Yeah, now I really enjoy cooking every kind of noodle. A lot, actually. So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's why I'm cool with being called Noodle.
Thank you, Noodle.
What about you, Kitty?
Me?
Well, these past 5 sessions, you've led conversations with questions and prompts, but you haven't shared anything about yourself. At least you didn't share any personal details with my group. Did either of you learn anything about Kitty in your other groups? Huh. Well, clearly you're running some kind of experiment on us.
Yeah, I wouldn't call what this is an experiment.
Okay, we volunteered our time, and that is on us. But it's only fair that you tell us something about you.
One, cut it out.
Don't tell me to cut it out.
Cut it out.
This is what intellectual discourse looks like. I am simply expressing my thoughts about.
Listen, we were all given the same contract to sign, and the rules did not include you may interrogate your therapist.
Oh, okay. Well, don't tell us about you. Tell us what you plan to do with all the data you've collected.
One, just give your responses.
I mean, we're volunteering our personal time.
No, we are getting paid $1,000. We are not volunteering.
We are getting paid $1,000, and we only get payment if we finish the 10-week program. So please, let's move one.
Getting paid is getting paid.
Getting paid is getting paid.
But nowhere in the contract does it say that we can't question this process.
Oh, come on. So what difference does it make how the information we share will be used?
Well, every week Kitty has us hunting in our emails looking for, or our social media DMs for our prompts. She has us conditioned like one of Pavlov's dogs.
Speak for yourself. Okay, I am not a dog.
Yeah, I am not a dog.
Look, just leave if you don't want to be here.
Yeah, just leave.
No one has to leave. Okay, tensions are high right now because of the new environment.
We're all here because we need the money.
And Kitty has the money.
I was in another group with 2 other people. Were you 2 in the same group? So that's at least 9 subjects. $9,000 in payments. In my world, that's a lot of money. And I doubt you're funding this personally, Kitty. So who is, and what are they hoping to uncover? This thinks of mind control, and you know it.
This is not a mind control project.
We're required to use they, them pronouns. I don't know about you two, but my cisgender specific pronoun is important to me.
My cisgender specific pronoun is important to me.
One and blessed. I hear you. I will be sure to convey your concerns about the gender non-specific pronouns to the focus group organizers. This study, it's not, I never thought of it as a mind-altering or controlling thing, simply a focused study on the impact of the pandemic.
We should know who's funding this study and why.
We should know who's funding this study and why.
Are you going to tell us who's financing this project?
No,
Okay, I am done here.
No, wait, look, life is a test, isn't it? And this pandemic was the biggest test of all for the entire planet. But we all persevered, so I think we can and should focus on completing this session.
I hate to say this, but I see one's point, Kitty. So I know we've never met face to face, but I feel close to you, Kitty. And maybe it's because our weekly meetings have been my one constant these past 5 weeks, or maybe because every week I feel like each question you ask me has been literally right on time for me. Like choosing the name Blessed, I've never consciously admitted to myself that I feel blessed, or that I'm scared that this new me may not last once we go back to normal. So thank you for giving me a space where I can express that. But you must know that one's questions are valid.
Did you sign an NDA? I mean, is that why you can't tell us anything about the funders?
Are you restricted from telling us about yourself?
We could use some of your prompts. How about, what was your greatest fear during the lockdown?
What is your vision for the future?
Are you really sick, or is this part of your little experiment?
I am really sick.
Prove it.
Come on, one.
You know what? I've been a clinical psychologist for years. I have never had a patient ask me about myself. This is just different. And yes, I know you aren't my patients. Okay, so ever since I was little, I was always a good listener, and people would talk to me privately about things they could never be comfortable sharing with other people. I never told anyone else their secrets, so they trusted me.
Why not?
Why not what?
Why not leak their secrets?
They needed me. And I like feeling needed, I guess.
That's beautiful. It's like you were born to be a giver. I used to gossip all the time before I found God.
Have you ever watched MASH?
That old war comedy television show? Is that in Korea?
Yeah. I watched reruns as a kid. I used to love the character Dr. Friedman. He always knew the right thing to say to make people be and feel better. And I decided then that I wanted to be like him. And I think I've helped a lot of people. I thought that was all I would do for the rest of my life. And then when the pandemic came, it destroyed my practice. Person to person interaction was my strong suit. I wasn't computer savvy, like teledoc or any of that stuff online. It wasn't for me. I mean, my computer at the time was this old refurbished desktop that a friend had given to me. It was more of an art installation in my living room than a tool for communicating or anything about branding and marketing. I didn't even know what social media was until this year.
How did you get your clients back then?
Word of mouth.
Did you work for a clinic or on your own?
I freelanced at a few clinics, mostly on my own. Some of my clients had insurance, but most paid on a sliding scale.
How did you make a living like that?
I'm pretty frugal, so I don't need much money. I own my home and my taxes are pretty low. And plus, it's never been about getting rich. It's always been about making a difference.
No one is that altruistic.
It was the way I was. It had always been. And then my cat, Kitty, died in June 2020. She was the only family I had left. And it hit me then that I was truly and completely alone. I didn't own a television, a smartphone, or a fully functioning computer. All I had was a shelf of books I'd collected over the years, most of which I'd never read. So I dove into reading. It was Norman Vincent Peale's positive thinking and Shakti Gawain's creative visualization that changed my life. I mean, it was their message about the power of visualization and imaging was eye-opening. I realized then that I had never imaged or prayed for myself. I had always done it for others, for their lives, their healing. And then one day I was praying for some insight into my future, and I heard a voice whisper, "You deserve more." So I have to tell you something. Probably going to get me fired.
Well, then don't say it.
Don't say it.
I was hired to lead this study by someone I met in an acting class.
So everything you've been saying is from a script?
The questions were scripted, but my personal story is true. I did lose my practice, and I did have an epiphany that changed my life during the pandemic. I realized that I wanted to be an actor. Yeah. And then I read a newspaper article about online acting classes, about a laptop, and I signed up for an improv class. I've learned so much about myself in my acting classes. For the first time, I feel like I am being and doing what I want. And I am broke just like everyone else in the group. So when my scene partner in one of my classes told me about this job leading a focus group, I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring my current career and my future career together.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
So you've changed because of your visualizations?
I don't think I've completely changed. I mean, I am here on this Zoom call with a 100-degree fever.
Are you kidding?
You should be resting.
Do you think it's possible for any of us to change? Like, really change?
I feel that if we visualize the life we want on a daily basis, we manifest what we want. I am here with you on my MacBook Pro using Zoom to talk with you. I think this is happening because I visualized myself helping people in my neighborhood and around the world.
Right. I know something about visualizations. I completed my PhD in philosophy at UC Berkeley in March 2019. I decided to take a gap year before I applied for teaching positions. I used what was left of my grant money to drive cross-country and gather material for my book. It juxtaposes the philosophies of unhoused Americans and migrant workers. So to stretch my budget, I couch surfed every now and again, stay with relatives and friends for a month or so, sometimes longer. And in exchange for them giving me a place to stay, I would cook and clean and run errands for them. I guess it was a way or a form of expressing, no, more so experiencing the life of a migrant worker. Moving from one place to another. And I kept telling myself, I was researching my book, but honestly, I was lost. And I couldn't imagine what the future held for me.
Billy Wilder slept on Peter Lorre's couch.
What?
When he came here, when the Nazis took over Germany, he slept on couches. And he went on to being a famous filmmaker because Peter Lorre got sick of him sleeping on his couch and got him a job at Paramount.
Quentin Tarantino couch surfed before he got his big break.
And your point is?
Being homeless can sometimes be good for you, I guess.
Okay, look, I never felt like I was homeless. Well, at least until March 15th, 2020. See, I drove from Florida to New York nonstop. And New York City was my final destination. I was supposed to stay with my cousin at her place in Brooklyn. And when I got to her place, she told me I couldn't stay with her because she was worried about the coronavirus. And since I'd been a nomad, crashing with so many different people, she didn't feel safe with me. I had only $500 in my savings. I was really counting on free housing. So I called my other family members in the area. They were all sympathetic, but scared of getting the virus. I couldn't stay at a hotel and burn through my money, so I had to live in my car. I thought about leaving the city, but no matter where I went, I would end up sleeping in my car, which is bad enough. But it was the issue with finding a restroom that really got me. Most coffee shops and malls are closed. All the gas stations were, locking their bathrooms. I had to hunt for a restroom to relieve myself. I eventually trained my body to only need to use the restroom when one was available. Anyway, I was in my car one night, exhausted, having suicidal thoughts, when I had a vision of my mother smiling at me. She died of cancer when I was in high school, and part of me knew it wasn't real, but we were in a field, laying in a bed of lavender and dandelions, and she touched me. And this beam of light filled me. And then the vision got clearer and stronger, and I felt safe. And every day after that, I eventually, I kept going back to that vision, and it evolved. I imaged myself living in a studio apartment in a fancy building with a doorman and a pool and a gym. And then I started imaging myself teaching college and holding office hours with my students and writing my book. And one day I was standing on a line at a soup kitchen, lost in one of my visualizations, and I could hear someone calling my name. It took me a minute to realize that the masked soup kitchen volunteer was handing me a loaf of bread and saying, "Hey, it's me, Mandy." Mandy was my student when I was teaching at Berkeley. Anyway, I ended up telling her everything about, including the fact that I was living in my car, and turns out her best friend is a social worker. And with his help, I applied for social services, and I got a place in a hotel where I stayed at until I was placed in an 80/20 building in Long Island City, thanks to Section 8. I'm now living in a studio apartment in a fancy building with a gym and a pool. I've submitted my resume to a few colleges, but with the pandemic, they aren't really hiring philosophy professors right now. And yeah, I lose hope sometimes. But when I do, I go back to visualizing.
Sounds like you should be named Blessed.
Thank you, Juan.
Oh, Blessed's right. You should be resting now.
Yes. Well, that concludes our session. So, next week, would you like to meet on Zoom or in person?
Being given a choice. I like that.
I'm torn.
Well, how about you email me your preference? Majority vote will rule. Good evening, everyone.
Recording stopped.
You really do need to get some sleep. I mean, do you need anything?
I'm okay.
Kitty, send me your address and I'll drop off some food and water.
I'll think about it.
Seriously, text me.
Oh, if you start to have delusions, it means your fever is way too high. Call 911.
Okay.
And I'll pray for you.
Okay. I'll see you all next week.
Kitty logs off.
I hope she'll be okay. See you next week.
We can only hope.
Bye.
One exits.
Be safe.
You too.
Noodle exits.
Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God.
Blessed exits. End of play.